don't know. I've never been in her company long enough to... No, as a matter of fact, she isn't.
You sure?
Yes, I just remembered. We had a drink together one night about a month ago. It was while the trial was on. I wanted to talk to June, and I telephoned her. She said she was taking a dress out to Farnham, and I arranged to meet her there.
At Farnham?
Well, you see, I was the guilty, so it was quite easy for me to get the car.
Come on.
Well, we called at a hotel, the White Swan.
Is that where you had the drink?
No, that was on the way home. It was with June, my dear. We were both feeling rather depressed, and she said the drink would do us good. Well, we stopped at some pub or other. I can't remember the name.
It was called the Lord Fairfax.
Lord Fairfax? Oh, sure.
Quite sure. I take it you didn't notice that?
No, I'm afraid I didn't. Well, I'd no reason to notice it.
Had Miss Michael been there before?
Well, she didn't say, but I think she must have, because it was right off the main road, and she found it so easily. I remember thinking at the time it was an awfully difficult place to find if you'd never been there before.
Oh, you see. Excuse me.
Certainly.
Hello? Yes, speaking. Yes, certainly. Oh, good morning, Sir Graham. Yes, I'm seeing him at 10:30. That's right. Yes, I will, of course. Well, I was just going to ask you... Thank you for ringing. Goodbye.
Mr. Temple,
Yes?
am I to understand that you think the name L. Fairfax, the name in Brenda's diary, referred to the place where June and I stopped the drink?
Think it's a possibility.
And you think my daughter had an appointment there?
It's a possibility.
But I asked June about the name Fairfax, and she said she'd never heard of it. Remember, I told you that.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's my opinion June knows a great deal more about this affair than anyone else. I've got to talk to her before it's too late.
It's already too late.
What?
June Michael died this morning. Thank you. How is Gilbert?
Well, he's behaving rather well, sir, considering. I mean, how do you do? I don't get a lot of trouble with him, you know. Not at this stage. Excuse me, sir. You've got a visitor, Gilbert.
Thank you, Walter. What do you want? My name is Temple. I'm a friend of Inspector Kingston's. Paul Temple? Yes. You write books. Books. May I sit down? Yes, you. Gilbert, I have a contract for 2 novels and a collection of short stories. Well, I'm only trying to impress you with the fact that I didn't come here to waste my time. I'm a busy man. All right, I'm impressed. Now what then? Did you murder Brenda Stone? You certainly are a busy man. You read the newspapers. Of course I murdered Brenda. We went to the theatre one night. We had a row, I lost my temper, I took her to a bomb site and strangled her. It was all quite simple. Nothing complicated. A woman called Mrs. Talbot saw me do it. At least she saw me running away. Just in case there's any doubt in your mind. I had an alibi and they found blood on my handkerchief. The right kind of blood. Oh, and I made 2 statements, both highly contradictory. Did you steal her shoe? What? I said, did you steal her shoe? Oh, yes, of course. I remember one of her shoes was missing. That's right. Did you steal it? Oh, of course. Why? Well, one doesn't commit a murder every day. It was an occasion. I took the shoe as a memento. Left or right? Huh? Only one shoe was missing. Which one did you take? The left or the right? The left. No. What do you mean? It was the right shoe that was missing. Oh. You know, You seem to me to be rather an impetuous young man. When you left Soho Square,
I never went near Soho Square.
But you must have done. That's where they found the body, or just round the corner. Besides, this Mrs. Talbot we've heard so much about saw you running down Greek Street.
Did she?
Well, didn't she?
Look, if you will have work to do, my advice to you is to go home and do it.
I'm not sure I want to take your advice.
Where do you come from? What do you want?
Did I tell you about June Martin? What about it? She committed suicide.
When?
Yesterday afternoon.
I can't believe it.
In all the papers. In any case, why shouldn't she?
Was it a person so full of you? Why should she commit suicide?
Why should you murder Brenda Sterling?
I didn't murder her.
Look, tell me, what really happened that night?
Well, Brenda left me outside the theatre and I walked down to the car park. I drove round for about an hour and I put the car into St. James's Square and went for a walk.
Why?
You mean why?
Well, why did you go for a walk?
I was upset because of what I said to Brenda and I wanted to think. I walked almost as far as the Victoria Albert Museum. Then I retraced my steps, picked up the car and drove home. I got back about 12:30.
Not a very good alibi, is it?
It was never meant to be an alibi. If I'd wanted an alibi, I could have got up a very much better one than that.
You did.
What do you mean?
In your first statement, you told Inspector Kingston that you arrived home at 10:30.
Yes, I know. I don't know what made me say that. I must have lost my head.
How do you account for the fact that Mrs. Talbot recognized you?
She can't have recognized
That
that
she did. She picked you out of identity correct.
Then she made a mistake.
Is that your only explanation?
Look, I told you I didn't murder Brenda. I told you I didn't go near Soho Square that
I'm
night.
not suggesting that you did.
You said Mrs. Talbot recognized her.
But she did.
Then I say she made a mistake.
All right. Let's look at it from another angle. Did you recognize Mrs. Talbot? Had you seen her before?
No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm quite sure.
What about Mr. Sterling, Brenda's father? Did he recognize her?
I don't know. I don't think he even saw her.
But he must have done it or left at the trial.
Well, I really don't know whether he recognized her or not. I suppose if he had done, he'd have told the police.
Yes, I suppose so.
Look, I'm sorry I lost my temper. I didn't mean to be rude, but you're only wasting your time.
If you didn't murder Brenda, and I don't think you did, then you were wrongly convicted. In which case I'm most certainly not wasting my time.
But we've never even met before. You don't know anything at all about me. All the evidence points towards the fact that I did murder Brenda. And why are you so sure that I didn't?
Did you steal the shoe?
No. Then who did? I don't know.
Did you ever go to a public house called the Lord Fairfax?
No.
Have you heard of it?
I think so.
Have you ever heard of a person called Fairfax? L. Fairfax.
No. Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Sterling mentioned someone called Fairfax. I believe he came across the name in a diary belonging to Brenda.
That's right. But you've never heard the name before he mentioned it?
No, never.
Read this letter, Gilbert.
What is it?
Read it.
It's addressed to me.
Yes.
The Danilo Hotel of Cromer. Dear Howard, so now it's all over, and they've found you guilty on this day. I met you once a long time ago. I expect you've forgotten.
Never said I didn't like your voice. It's not even true.
And a dubious corpse just bobbed up in the Thames, and that's only this morning. If I don't have the leisure to worry about Samuel bunking off for half a day, it's got nothing to do with Vesta Tilly.
Sorry, Fred. Or should I call you Sergeant Wensley from now on?
Come on. I'll want you out. Heard any more about this brother of yours?
Half-brother, if that.
What was his name again?
Brennig, so he says.
Your old man have anything to say about him?
Not really, no. But from what I heard from home, it seems his story could be true.
I've known Samuel 25 years, more, but as a fellow dairyman, not a friend or a confidant.
So you've no idea?
I cannot believe you go far.
Bye, Mr. Jones.
Good day to you, Mrs. Chalk. We'll have a proper chat tomorrow about that vile man.
The Lord that dare not speak its name. It's disgusting.
Mark my words, that Oscar Wilde will get what he deserves in this world and the next.
What will?
Whitechapel is the pond Samuel swims in, Megan. Take him out of that, would he not gasp and die?
I suppose you would.
If you are troubled by his vanishing, write to your father. No one knows Samuel better than he.
I would, but I fear my father is unwell at present.
Oh, nothing serious, I hope.
No, I don't believe so. But I'd rather not trouble him with petty concerns.
I'm glad you thought to call on me, Meg. Soon, when we are no longer rivals, I hope we shall be friends.
When you open your new dairies in Bloomsbury, shall you sell this one?
Would you wish to buy it?
Well, I might, if the price was right and I could raise the funds.
I shall probably keep hold of it for a while until the new ones are established. Better not burn your boat until you've reached dry land.
You sound like Samuel, a font of Yiddish wisdom.
I hardly think so.
How's little Yellow?
Oh, thriving. So my dear wife tells me, though, with all I have going on here, I've been unable to get away to meet the little chap.
I must be off. Oh, Yellow. One more little thing.
Yes?
That American woman that my father once knew, Louisa. Do you recall hearing about a son, name of Brennig?
Brennig? Sorry, Meg, I don't believe I've ever heard that name, in that relation or any other.
Mudlark found him. There's dredgers working upstream. Probably washed down from there.
Been in the water long?
Hard to be precise, Sergeant. What with the river being frozen solid for so long? Possibly longer. 3 months. Their bodies scorched too, like he'd been set on fire.
Not much left of him then.
More than you'd expect. Looks like the water put out the fire. And this stretch of the Thames is pretty much dead. No fish to nibble at him, just a few eels. And he went headfirst into the mud, which slows decomposition. I'll be able to tell you more when I get him back to the mortuary and perform the necropsy. Yes.
Has the body been moved?
Only by old Father Thames. The Mudlark swears this is exactly how he found it.
Did he rifle the pockets?
He said not. Too stinky to touch.
Right, Doctor. Let's turn him over, shall we? Middle-aged?
I'd say 30 to 50.
Yeah, hard to be sure. All that mud still clinging to him, most of his face gone like that. But there is something about that fella that seems awfully familiar.
You're telling me you only bought this yard?
Acquired it.
Which means what exactly?
One of my regulars lost heavily last week. Couldn't pay. So, can you use?
It's further from Brick Lane than I'd have liked. I'll need space for 30, 35 cows. A couple of horses to pull the wagons. Have to enlarge the entrance. Oh, it looks like there's water. Drains are good. Yes, Dora, I can use it. Thank you.
How soon can you get work on the way?
A week or so?
Make it sooner.
You are in a hurry. Solomon?
Not only Solomon, though I can't dodge his questions forever. Wolves are circling, Meg. They smell weakness.
A lot of wolves in Whitechapel. Which particular ones are these?
The Odessians. Street fighters. Russian.
I thought you were Russian.
Different part of Russia. Moses fought them. I tried to make peace. We done here now?
Yes.
Some of my own people are turning against me. They see my heart's not in it anymore.
Dora, can you lend me some muscle? Someone who can persuade a man who's bothering me to leave me alone.
What exactly are you asking here, Meg?
I don't want the fella killed. I just want him to go away.
There's a problem I should know about.
Oh, no, personal.
My Asher can do what you like, a gun. Bang. I'll send him round to the dairy tonight.
Thank you, Dora.
In the gallery, the boy I love is looking well at me. Oh, there he is, can't you see, waving his handkerchief, the merry as a robin.
Granny Gavins.
Who the hell wants to know?
Do you take requests?
Sorry, do I know you? I don't think I know you.
Because I got a couple.
You want my wallet? Here, take it.
Stay at the Whitechapel. And go back to America.
Two. Samuel? Samuel? Is that you?
Oh, Meg. What's for something?
Dora, how did you get round the back? Come in. Everything all right?
Who's here?
Only me.
Safe, Asher. The Shannon dog. Drop it inside the door.
Should I wait?
No. I'll see you back at Fashion Street in an hour.
Yankee bother you again?
No, Asher, thank you. You did good.
Good night.
Here. Dry yourself.
Oh, you have a safe?
Upstairs, installed a few months ago.
Show me.
The locksmith and his crew almost killed themselves getting the safe up the stairs.
How many keys?
3. This one, which I keep on me at all times. Samuel has one.
Where is Samuel?
Still away. And there's a spare at the bank, 4 doors down.
Open it.
Nothing much in here at the moment. Tomorrow's float. And this.
Oh, Meg.
It's all right, it's not loaded.
Meg, you shouldn't have kept it. You should have got rid of it straight after.
I thought it might come in useful.
It's evidence. When Moses' body went into the river, that gun should have gone in with him.
I found this in the deceased's waistcoat pocket. Watertight.
Tobacco? Snuff? God blimey.
Here, let me. More unexpected than that. Less pleasant. It was the very devil to open. Had to take a bone chisel to it. Oh,
Moses.
you're the one found among the bulrushes.
Moses Lipsky. Ran a low dive in Fashion Street among other crimes and misdemeanors. Vanished last winter. Rumours he'd gone to America, obviously false. Moses kept a man's ear in a tin, claimed he'd sliced it off himself, used it to keep people in line. It's not possible to tell me how he died, I suppose, after all this time.
Very possible. Just look at him, Sergeant.
I'm sorry, Doctor. What are you showing me?
Not there. Those injuries are post-mortem from the river. His head. Look at the bullet hole in his skull.
You want me to keep this for you?
Until I can find somewhere better, yes. Will you?
Of course. What's in it?
Everything.
I don't understand.
All that I have, almost. I've hid a little elsewhere, but gold, some silver, diamonds, profits of my various enterprises, and those of Moses before me. Also deeds for the dairies and the yard.
You don't have a safe at Fashion Street?
I took it out of the safe in Fashion Street an hour ago. Those wolves I spoke of, they're getting bolder. I fear I may have to flee Fashion Street in a hurry.
Wouldn't you rather put it in a bank?
Oh, I don't trust banks.
But you trust me?
Not entirely. Never anyone entirely. But you're the only one I can turn to outside the life. The only woman. I have to trust you.
Yolo. I only came because your note said it was important. This is a mistake. We must never be seen together, ever. Not even when it's all over. If someone were to catch us and tell Megan Evans, it could ruin everything. Good grief! What happened to your face?
My face is the least of it. I am black and blue, head to foot. Guy beat me up real bad.
What guy?
Built like an ox, Jewish.
This is unfortunate.
Oh, you think?
But I'm sure it has nothing to do with our arrangement.
No? He told me to go back to America.
Well, he heard you talking and he doesn't like Americans. This is Whitechapel. That sort of thing happens here.
Wasn't in Whitechapel. I wasn't in character. Hadn't been for days. It happened near my digs. When you hired me, you told me you were playing an elaborate practical joke.
I am.
Oh, I'm not a fool. This is deadly serious. Which reminds me, I've got a job. Proper job. Not this sort of nonsense. The Bard, Lyceum, Henry Irving, Ellen Terry, second grade digger, major role. Rehearsals start next week.
To see this through to the end.
More money. Double what you're paying me now.
Very well. But you're going to earn it. You're going to turn the screw on Megan Evans.
And tomorrow, in Blood and Milk, Meg's situation goes from bad to, frankly, dreadful.
I'm Ian Macmillan, the Bard of Barnsley. And I'm Andrew Macmillan, also a Bard of Barnsley. Join us on Radio 4 Extra as we sit down for a father-to-son chat.
Dad, I'm 30.
Not that sort of chat. A 3-hour look at father and son portrayals on the radio.
Including Howard Cunnell's memoir about the difficulties of inheritance.
An edition of Kaleidoscope featuring Kingsley and Martin Amis.
And Dad made me laugh.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Oh, it's a programme. Sorry, I meant Michael Sellers talking about his dad, Peter.
Fathers and Sons, on Saturday at 9 in the morning and 7 at night on BBC Radio 4 Extra.
This is BBC Radio 4 Extra. Now, in a programme from 2016, the poet and comedian Tim Key gives his own surreal and startling take on a neglected Soviet absurdist writer. Nothing is quite as it seems, as Tim Key delves into Daniel Helms, and that's all.
Oh, I would imagine he was very unhappy. What might make him happy? It was an era of great tension, of the possibility of being arrested at any moment, which was ultimately realized. I don't know what was going on in his mind, and I don't know that anybody does.
What would you like to make your documentary about? I came across a story not too long ago. This is a reenactment of a meeting I had with the man at Radio 4. He was drinking vinegar out of a small glass Wellington. I was leaning forward over his desk and talking directly into his ear. What's this story you speak of? It's called The Plummeting Old Women. I slid it across to him, and as I slid it, I caught a glimpse of a couple of lines. I smirked. I love this story.
Oh, I've not heard of it.
It's lush.
What's in the suitcase?
It's my favourite story, by a distance.
Fucking stay.
It's only half a page long. He looked at me through his specs.
A doc about this story.
Read it.
Who's it by?
Read it, man. I moved out of his face, and he gave it a read.
The Plummeting Old Women. A certain old woman, out of excessive curiosity, fell out of a window, plummeted to the ground, and was smashed to pieces. Another old woman leaned out of the window and began looking at the remains of the first one, but she also, out of excessive curiosity, fell out of the window, plummeted to the ground, and was smashed to pieces. Then a third old woman plummeted from the window, then a fourth, then a fifth. By the time a sixth old woman had plummeted down, I was fed up watching them, and went off to Maltsevisky Market, where, it was said, a knitted shawl had been given to a certain blind man.
That's it? That's it?
Sure.
That's it.
A documentary about that?
I mean, it's a jumping off point. He was writing at difficult times.
What's in the suitcase?
The documentary.
the first thing people say after you read the incidents is that Harms has created a new literary genre, the anti-story.
I remember the moment I encountered Daniel Harms for the first time.
Stories that seem to reject all accepted notions of narrative as a way of getting towards a more profound truth about everyday life.
I was at university, somewhere in the Yorkshire Dales,
Erasing the boundary between life and art.
and it slid out of a library shelf.
A man with a long, thin neck crawled into a trunk, closed the cover, and began to suffocate.
The book's name was Incidences, a collection of short happenings, occurrences, well, incidences. I liked it immediately. For an afternoon I buried my nose in its leaves, neglecting my studies and my drinking and losing myself in Harms's words.
How continuous is your life really? As we go through life, we're constantly creating and recreating narratives about who we are, what we are, why this thing happened to us.
That night I climbed into my pillow and shut my eyes. All I could see were the old biddies, falling and shattering. Who was this Daniel Harms? How had I survived without him?
Harms saw a world that needed to be taken apart and reconstructed in order to not only perceive truth, but create truth. Through the act of creation, you create reality.
As a documentarianist, you worry that this story might not be thick enough to documentarize about. Where crime and punishment could be used as a doorstop or weapon, Harms's miniatures are half the length of a bit of paper, more suitable for jotting down a modest shopping list on the reverse. The stuff is meagre in its length, but I'm into it. Yeah,
The meeting.
I'd say I'm into it.
Now, one day, a man went to work, and on the way, he met another man, who, having bought a loaf of Polish bread, was heading back home where he came from. And that's it, more or less.
Well, I'll begin then. Is it Anthony or Tony?
Tony is fine, Tim.
Excellent. Who's Daniel Harms? I'm sat in a room, at a table. On the table is the suitcase, and in the suitcase, everything. Everything I want in my doc. Harms's writings, his published work, his notes, my links, his links. Tapes with interviews, a tape recorder, an actor, an editor, and heaps of love. Now, here's a scrap about his birth. Now, I'll tell you how I was born, how I grew, and how the first
signs of genius came to light in me. I was born twice.
The actor.
Here's how it happened.
Daniel Harms survived a life of almost complete deprivation, almost no publication, and yet today he is considered one of the most important Russian writers of the 1920s and 1930s.
It was Papa's desire that I be born without fail upon the new year. Papa calculated that the conception had to take place on the 1st of April, and only on this day would he come around to Mama with the proposition to conceive a child.
He had a public life writing children's poetry. He survived on the money that he made from that, but he basically had his secret life writing these explosive mini stories.
Nonetheless, all of Papa's calculations collapsed because I turned out to be premature and was born 4 months before I was due. Papa flew into such a rage that the midwife receiving me got flustered and began to cram me back in from where I had just come out.
The thing that I think sells Harms is this wildly surrealistic humor. I mean, he is hilariously funny. And then when you stop laughing, you start thinking, what's going on here? The conventional narrative structures of what we like to call life do not seem to apply in Harms's world.
The experienced doctor examined the mother and shook his head, but nonetheless still kept his wits and gave the mother a good dose of Epsom salts. In this way, I came into the world for a second time.
Daniel Harms, 1905 to 1941. Early Soviet writer of prose miniatures, in which black humor and grotesque violence combine to create a universe in which nothing seems solid, the absurd is the norm, and violence, death, and dismemberment are commonplace.
Events. One day, Orlov stuffed himself with mashed peas and died.
Classic Harms. Death, violence, but nonetheless death and violence. It's dripping with the stuff.
Krylov, having heard the news, also died. and Spiridonov died regardless. And Spiridonov's wife fell from the cupboard and also died. And the Spiridonov's children drowned in a pond.
No one's safe.
Spiridonov's grandmother...
I hate talking over it, but just to say this is typical.
And Mikhailov stopped combing his hair...
Just doing my job as a documentarian, Izaruna.
And Kruglov sketched a lady holding a whip and went mad. And Perikostov received 400 rubles wired over the telegraph and was so uppity about it that he was forced to leave his job. All good people, but they don't know how to hold their ground.
Bam! There it is again, the abrupt ending. Harms loves that. He magics an incident from nothing and, in the midst of his carnage, he walks away. Всё. That's the Russian word. Всё. That's it. That's all. That's your lot. With no warning and no apology, the whole thing's off. And Harms is off.
Now, one day a man went to work, and on the way he met another man who, having brought a loaf of Polish bread, was heading back home where he came from. And that's it, more or less. To be honest, I don't really get it.
I don't think I like you being in my documentary.
You've written me into it. My point being, it feels a waste to do something about when he's a kid.
The Radio 4 man didn't think much of my plan to make a documentary about Daniel Harms. He chugged back his sarsen and told me he didn't think there was much of a thirst for it. That my documentary should be about someone like A.A. Milne, or Mike Atherton, or someone who wrote longer stuff.
That's like claiming you're a weightlifter when all you ever do is lift sponges.
But then a huge lamp fell on him, crushing him to death, and that was that.